And good evening, Manitoba Female Hockey League fans. I'm your host, Graham the GShow Forsyth. Welcome to another edition of the Manitoba Female Hockey League U18 AAA podcast here on GShow Productions. I'm your host, of course, Graham the GShow Forsyth. And this show is brought to you by Terrico, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years. Visit their website at terrico.ca for more information about their products. We're brought to you by Goaltenders, your goalie's personal video review service. Be sure to check out their website at gordytomlinsongoalies.ca for more information. And we're also brought to you by Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs until the end of this month. Ladies and gentlemen, and whoever else may be watching, with any purchase you make at any Mid Canada Fasteners and Tools locations, you'll be able to receive a free Milwaukee Coffee Mug until the end of this month with any purchase you make in-store by using the promo code GShow Productions. So take advantage. It's a limit one per customer in terms of the amount of cups you get. Quantities won't last long, of course, depending on how it goes this month. But yeah, when you go into a store, buy something out of Mid Canada Fasteners and Tools shop by using GShow Productions, the promo code, you'll be able to get a free coffee mug, and who doesn't love that? And speaking of a coffee mug, got one in the background there, also one right here. Just some lore there in terms of the background of GShow Productions. But yeah, the MFHL podcast, not a super busy week 11 in the league. If we take a look at it, the results, there were only 3 games played. It started with the Winnipeg Ice defeating the Eastman Selects in a shootout in a game where the Ice gave it their all to get back. They end up tying late in the game. Post sounds for Eastman as they end up losing that shootout. But Eastman, of course, would bounce back really nicely on Sunday, taking down the Pembina Valley Hawks 7-0. And if we take a look at Pembina Valley on Saturday as well, losing 5-3 to the Winnipeg Ice. They were up 1-0 in that game before Winnipeg took back the lead got the lead in that first period. If we take a look at the standings, the Winnipeg Ice have only lost 1 game. They've won 13 straight. They're the class of the league so far, I'd say, along with the Winnipeg Avros. Taking a look at these differentials in the standings, Avros only 3 points back of the Ice heading into tonight. We'll get the update for that game for you guys as it has concluded at this point right away, coming up after this first interview of the episode. But as you take a look there, the Eastman Selects now into 4th place, 1 point off of 3rd to tie the Yellowhead Chiefs. Of course, Yellowhead, the Avros, Westman, Interlake, and Central Plains all had the week off. The Avros were in Regina, and I had a chance to speak to Rio Pierre, who was a part of that trip with her team. She's sensational in her first season, to say the least. She's top 3 in points, a big part of this Avros success up front so far, where they have 62 goals for. Well, that was heading into tonight's game. I'm going to talk to Rio about that matchup coming up tonight that's already been played against the Winnipeg Ice, as well as a whole lot of other stuff to start things off here on the official Manitoba Female Hockey League podcast on GShow Productions, brought to you by Mid Canada Fasteners and Tools, Terrico, and Goaltenders. Number 9, rookie for the Winnipeg Avros, Rio Pierre, coming up next. Joining me now on this edition of the MFHL Podcast for episode 6, the first guest in this episode, it's Rio Pierre, number 9, rookie of the Winnipeg Avros. Rio, thanks for taking the time. It's game day for the Avros, taking on the Winnipeg Ice tonight. You've had some short time to experience this rivalry so far, but what's the feeling going into another big rivalry game against them so early in the season?
Well, I'm very confident, and I feel like our team has very much come together this year. And the last 2 games against the Ice, we haven't played our best and we haven't gotten our full potential yet. And I feel like we have a very good opportunity to do that tonight and hopefully come out with the win.
Yeah, it's been two one-goal losses to the Winnipeg Ice so far this season for this Avros team. You guys are, or you girls are 3 points out of first. For you this season, you talked about the confidence that you had just there, and it's shown on ice. 23 points in 15 games played. Talk about how you've been able to come in and make such a huge impact for this Avros team so early on in your rookie year.
Well, I was really nervous to come into and play at a AAA level because at AA it is a very different game and it is very different. And I guess Ash really gave me that confidence with the trusting me and just like helping me. And she was a really good coach, like from the start, and was telling me that she's going to be hard on all of the rookies because she wants to see us succeed. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I've had many conversations with Ashley in the past and some of her former players too that I've spoken to have nothing but praise for her. Could you dive more into the influence, the impact that she's had on all the rookies coming into this year and how it's been, fitting in that way?
Well, from the start, you could tell she was going to be a very hard coach, but she was also going to be a very good coach because she set like ground rules from like the very start, the very first practice. We had a meeting and she explained like what she expects from us this year and how she wants to have this team succeed. And just with like everyone there, I feel she made a big impact on every single one of us.
There's quite a few returning players, a good chunk of rookies to this year's Avros team. What's it been like from a rookie perspective, being able to bond with the vets, the leaders on this team, for them to welcome you along with all the other rookies into the Avros family culture?
The vets have been really good to us. They haven't really like made any problems. They made me personally feel super welcome to the team, and like just like everyone is so inclusive on the team, and people, they talk to you and they know when you're having a bad day and they'll just like try and make it feel better by whether it's making a funny joke or just trying to talk to you about it. But they've been so good to us so far.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. And a huge part of a team having success like you girls have had this season is having that strong bond off the ice as well as is on it. Can you speak about what this experience has been so far in terms of this team culture compared to the other team cultures you've been a part of in the past, how different it's been?
Well, it's been like very different. First of all, like the age difference, like going into it, I've only played with girls a year older than me, so I didn't really know any of the 06s on the team, but they've been like very good to all of us rookies so far, and they will probably continue to be because they bonded with us so well. And with my other teams, we clicked, but there is definitely a big difference considering it's only 1 year and then from having the AAA to go to 2 years.
Yeah, and you've had a chance to go up against this competition as well, going up against older competition, doing pretty well. You're third in the league in points with the 23 and 15 games, like talked about. Could you give the viewers a sense of when they're coming to watch Rio Pierre play, what stands out in her game to make you the type of player you are out on ice?
Well, I would say just I'm a very like for like I like to forecheck a lot. I feel like I'm very good at forechecking, and if I'm being honest, I really could not do it without my line mates because we just like we all mesh very well together. And I'm with Celine and Rory, and we've clicked from the start. And Ash hasn't really tried to like switch up our line because she has confidence in us, and we just all play very well together.
Yeah, and the line that's created a ton of offense, a ton of opportunity for the Avers this season. One more question about just the competition in general, in terms of the skill, before we move on to something else here. But what's it been like for you throughout these games? Obviously, you have adjusted well, but the adjustment you felt personally that has come with stepping up and playing at a higher level from AA to AAA so far in 15 regular season games?
I would have to like it is very different just from the start, and to adjust we had I feel like I had a like not a super great start to the season, but I was able to like make my speed like better just because I had to keep up my pace with everyone. And when we went to Stony, it was just a really good starting off tournament to just get us like easing into things instead of just going right into the Portage tournament or just right into the regular season. So I was very glad we got that Stony Creek showcase before any of that.
Yeah, and that's something that I've come to learn of with this league is there's a lot of showcases, and this Avros team played in a tournament this past week/weekend at the Mandy Schwartz Memorial Arena in Regina. You girls faced off against teams like the Red Deer Chiefs and the Saskatoon Stars from the Saskatchewan Female AAA League. Talk about that experience, what it was like going up against some of the best teams from Western Canada this past weekend.
It was very difficult. Obviously, they're very good teams and very skilled. Um, I feel like we all played very well though, considering like how high in the rankings they are in Canada. And we almost came out with a victory, but it was a very good like game to just play against because if we didn't play against that team, we would have no clue what we were going up against in like other provinces.
Right, for sure. And yeah, I saw that the Avros ended up making it to the bronze medal game. Obviously, there were some successes and some losses from this past weekend. But what's this team looking to take out of this past weekend, knowing that you can compete against the teams like you girls were able to in close games? Is that the positive mindset you girls are looking to take out of that weekend, knowing you can compete with these top end teams heading forward? Like you said, when it does come to that, when you have to face them again.
Yes, I feel it definitely should give us some confidence just because we were able to keep up the pace with those teams. And just, I really hope that the confidence transfers into tonight's game against the Ice because I feel like we can play 10 times better if we know we have that confidence from the past weekend.
Well, you girls are only 3 points behind the Winnipeg Ice at this point in the standings. 12-2-1 record. This Avros team, most goals for in the league. Still, you've been a part of this high-powered offense, but like you've talked about, you haven't been able to do it without your line mates, and there's a ton of depth on this year's Avros team. Talk about how fun it's been truly playing with so many skilled girls you have up front as you have been this season as a part of the forward group.
Um, I would have to say this is probably the most fun year of hockey that I have had. The culture with these girls is so good, and I just love playing with them. They make the game like so much more fun to me, and they just, they just whenever I get to the rink, I'm always happy because even if I've had a bad day, they'll like cheer me up. It's just amazing, and I just love these girls so much.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been, the support like you've talked about, which is sounds like that's made a huge difference this season, and obviously the skill is translated onto the ice. Obviously it hasn't been perfect this year. This team ended up blowing that 3-goal lead to the ice a few weeks ago. Now there's been only 3 losses on the season. Can you talk about what you feel like this group may have to improve on heading forward to reach the ultimate goal, which I would assume for this team is possibly a championship?
I honestly think we just need to get our confidence up because every single one of our girls on this team is so skilled and Ash picked us for a reason, but I feel like we haven't peaked with our confidence.
Yeah, and a chance to build some of that confidence and maybe not peak, but raise it a bit this weekend coming up as you girls will be Niverville to take on the Selects, of course, tonight against the Winnipeg Ice. So what's the mindset heading into these two games coming up against two tough opponents?
Well, like we need to improve on our small little decisions and maybe think a little quicker, which I think this past weekend has very much helped us considering we played against like Red Deer and Saskatoon, which were very good teams and they forced us to think quicker. So I hope we can build that and bring it into our next couple games coming up, the next 4 games.
Yeah, the Avros team will be looking to improve to 14-2-1 in these next two games. First one coming up against the Ice tonight, and then going to be in Niverville to take on the Selects on Saturday afternoon. Rookie sensation Rio Pierre joining this edition of the MFHL podcast. Rio, best of luck to you and the team coming up tonight and in this weekend as well.
Thank you.
And Rio Pierre, number 9, rookie sensation of the Winnipeg Avros, joining this edition of the MFHL podcast, brought to you by Goaltenders, as you just saw, your goalie's personal video review service. Terrico, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years. Visit their website at terrico.ca for more information today on their great line of products. And we are also brought to you by Mid Canada Fasteners and Tools, of course, until the end of this month when you go into one of their store locations in Brandon and Winnipeg. By using the GShow Productions promo code, you'll receive a free Milwaukee Tool Coffee Mug with any one of your purchases. So it can be any purchase in the store until the end of December, and you get a free coffee mug. I just wanted to say that again. And yeah, speaking of the Avros, they were up 3-0 in their last meeting against the Winnipeg Ice until the Ice came back, courtesy of Stephanie Jacob, carrying them back as they clawed their way to 3-0 lead to tie it and winning in a shootout in extra time. Well, tonight it was the rematch between the two top teams in the league. As you had seen earlier in the standings, it was only 3 points that separated these two teams. Now that the Ice had the same amount of games in hands as the Avros, they led the season series 2-0 heading into tonight's matchup. And for the Winnipeg Avros, it was looking pretty good for them heading into the third period. They were up 4-2. Would the Winnipeg Ice come back again? Would the Winnipeg Avros hold on to win? Well, no. The Ice would storm their way back, tie things up, and then they would beat the Avros in overtime 5-4 to win their third matchup against them of the season. All 3 matchups have only been separated by a goal. I think there may be a lot of Manitoba hockey fans out there outside of these fan bases that, could secretly be hoping these two teams face off because, man, what a final series this could be in the end. But still, of course, a lot of games to go until then. And taking a look at the standings heading into this weekend, all teams that have played the max games have played 15. So we're about halfway through the season for most of these teams. 2023 is winding down. The Ice improved to 15-1 tonight. The Avros fall to 12-2-2. It's a 4-point difference between the two teams now as the Avros get a point in there, so not being a 5-point lead. But yeah, as talked about before, there's quite a bit of separation between the top two in the standings right now by 7 points now between the Avros and the Yellowhead Chiefs. Going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend coming up, however. But yeah, taking a look at the upcoming matchups in the upcoming MFHL schedule, we're going to bring those to you guys actually in just a bit. What I want to show you guys now actually is, Well, we'll show you guys after. What I want to show you guys now is an interview that I had a chance to do with Ginger Fast, assistant captain of the Eastman Selects. Ginger and her team, they'll be in action one time this weekend, and a special announcement about that game coming during that interview. But yeah, a big test for the Eastman Selects coming up, as you do see by the standings again as we take a look at it. They are in third place, so they have a chance to potentially hit their ninth win of the season if things do go their way against the Avros. But as Ginger Fast and me talked about throughout our time as an Eastman Select, it hasn't always been that way where the Selects have been able to stay with the top teams. They've made it close against the Winnipeg Ice in their matchups this season for the most part. Last time losing in a shootout 2-1 last week. I had a chance to ask Ginger about that, as well as the 7-0 blowout win their team had against Pembina Valley, her 3 years so far with the U18 program in Eastman, and more surrounding her in the Selects. Coming up next on episode 6 of the MFHL podcast, brought to you by Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, Terrico, and Goaltenders. Enjoy, everybody. Ginger Fast, number 8 of the Eastman Selects, captain, or assistant captain, coming up next. Joining me on this edition of the MFHL podcast now is Ginger Fast, 3-year vet in the MFHL for the Eastman Selects, wearing number 8. Ginger, great to have you on. I got a chance to come out and see the Selects this past weekend at the Hockey for All Center. It was a close loss for you girls, and then finishing off the weekend, as you know, with a big 7-0 win. The team's thoughts, the general feeling from this past weekend.
Last year, the couple past years, we've had a really tough time against the Ice, 6-0 games, like 6-1. And I think the team is just really fired up that we even got that close to winning. The game could have been either team's win, it was a shootout. So could have went either way. And 7-0 win was a big dub for us. And we can't let that get to our heads, and we got to keep pushing after that. And hopefully more things will come our way.
Well, this Selects team is certainly off to a great start this season. Through 15 games, 8-5-2, 1 point out of third place. You've had experience playing with this team for the past 2 seasons. Hasn't gone as good as it has been so far this year. What have you noticed from this year's squad compared to others that has generated in this positive record so far?
Definitely the changing room. I would say it's just a better environment. The whole team gets along. Everybody's hyping each other up on the bench, and I think that's a big part of the game. And that's something we kind of lacked in the past years, and I think that the team has really come together this year.
You're one of the returning players to this year's squad. How huge has it been to have a team with some returning players and the way the rookies have been stepping up as well?
It's nice to have returning players because they know how the league works. They know how fast the league is. But our rookies came in and adjusted real quick. A lot of them have been getting the points up there, and they've really been helping up this season.
In that game against the Ice, and I'm sure it's like this in every game, there's quite a lot of noise coming from the goaltenders, the bench, really fired up when this team does something positive or shutting down the other team like you girls did at points against the Ice. Is that something that's a bit different this year in terms of how much energy there truly is from you and the rest of the girls?
Yeah, 100%. I would say there wasn't much noise last year, but I feel like when you're in that tight of a game with a team that you usually wouldn't be, there's a lot of energy from the bench. And I think that every player agrees that when you're getting good feedback on the bench, it hypes you up and riles you up for the next shift.
This is a Eastman Selects team that has put up 39 goals so far, hasn't scored a ton, but a team that's defended really well. Does it go into the style, the way this team plays, the skill level? Why has this team been able to have so much success truly on the defensive side of the puck so far?
I honestly have to say our goalies are incredible. Our goalies have had our backs in all those games, and I think that that's one of the big things on our team for defensively.
For yourself throughout your 3 years, could you talk about your development as an overall player with this Eastman Selects team, how you've grown throughout these past 3 seasons playing at the U18 AAA level?
Yeah, I adjusted to the speed, I feel like, in my second year. The first year is hard to pick up on it. I feel like I adjusted to the speed the environment is way better. It makes you actually want to play for your team when you have a good dressing room. Yeah.
You're leading this team in points as well as in goals, but there's not just you that's putting the puck in the net. Isabella Carrier, winning Player of the Week, most recently in the MFHL. She's 1 goal behind you with 6. Ava Boyley with 5 goals, wearing number 10 this season, and then the list goes on. Is that also something that's different this season, having more weapons, more ways to beat teams, even though the Selects team hasn't scored a ton this year?
Yeah, like, I think it's nice to be able to have a bunch of players that can score goals, because at the end of the day, you need to put the puck in the net to win games, and um, Isabel Carrier has done a great job at that this year as a rookie, and she's made a big impact on this team. And Ava's been on the team for 2 years now. She's the returning vet, and she's a big part of this team too.
Yeah, nice to see the rookie there and Carrier stepping up, and of course of that, like you said, in Boyley,
Yeah.
getting to play with Todd Mason. Now, I'm not quite sure off the top of my head when Todd came in, but you've gone through different types of coaches, different coaching staffs throughout your 3 years here with the team. So, what's been like having his impact so far this year behind the bench?
Yeah, I've had him. This is my second year having him. I think he brings energy. I think he really encouraged us to, like, he really believes in fair play. So if you're playing good, you're gonna keep playing. If you're not, you're not. But he believes in all 18 of us, and I think that's a big thing too. And it really encourages people.
For yourself, going back to you personally, you have 14 points in 15 games played this season. Might break last year's career high that you set in the regular season. Your third season in the league, is it just a sense of you being more comfortable out there with the puck? What exactly has led to you being this team's leading scorer out there this season?
I honestly have to put it to my teammates. Like, I think it's just been a better season for our team this year, and I have the line mates, I have the teammates that can help me get those points, and all I can do is, put the puck in the net.
Who've you been playing with for the most part this year?
If I'm gonna be honest, the lines switch almost every practice and weekend. We're still trying to figure out who plays good together, and but lately I think I've been playing a lot with Boyley and quite a few games with Carrier too. So I think we put up the points together pretty well.
Yeah, and all 3 of you girls, top 3 right now on the team in points. But obviously, as a player, sometimes it could be difficult going from one line to playing with others.
Yeah.
So with that being said, from just finding this out, switching the lines as much as they had to have this much success, does that just speak to the overall talent of this group and how players are able to adjust so well to playing with different girls?
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody is just good, that it doesn't really matter who you're playing with. As long as you got the communication on the line, then I think that every line is good out there. Not one line doesn't have that speed or that goal scoring. I think every line, especially on that PV game, I think that all of our lines were there, and that had been a fresh lines that we haven't played with yet.
Well, we'll get to see what the line combinations will be in a game that we'll be broadcasting here on GShow Productions live on Saturday afternoon between you girls and the Winnipeg Avros. Going to be another tough test for the Eastman Selects team, going up against a top 2 team in the league, a chance to potentially jump into third place or make it difficult on the Chiefs. Lots of things could go down in that one single game this Saturday afternoon. What's the mindset for you and the rest of the girls heading into this big matchup?
Yeah, we've had close games with them so far. I think that it's a pretty even matchup, and I think if our team comes to play and have that mindset before the game and everybody's ready to play and everybody knows their lines, everybody knows what they're supposed to do, I think that it would be a really good game.
If you girls are able to make it close and maybe even come away with the win against the Avros, like you've talked about, there's been previous years where games against teams like the Ice, for example, haven't exactly gone this team's way, but it's been a lot more closer games for this Eastman Selects group of girls this year compared to other years against the top teams. So how much of this is going to be huge going down the line if this team can go out and put up a good performance against the Avros for the confidence moving forward into the season heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, this would bring a big boost to our team. I think that if we could put ourselves above the Avros, it would give us a better shot in playoffs. I think that the team would be more hyped up to if we got above that spot. And I think that last year, I think we finished 4th or 5th. But if we could finish above that, then I think that the team would have a bunch more confidence going into playoffs.
Well, lots of season left to play, but lots of great games left to play. And this Eastman Selects team with a chance to potentially move further up in the standings this upcoming weekend in the MFHL. Going up against the Avros. See you and the rest of the team there calling that game on Saturday. Ginger, you enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for coming on here and doing this. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And Ginger Fast, number 8 of the Eastman Selects, assistant captain, third-year veteran forward, joining this edition of the show. And great to hear from a player in Ginger just talking about what the positive outlook is on this year's team, because since joining the Eastman Selects, they haven't had a ton of success. And being in your final year, you want to be playing some of your best hockey, and Ginger Fast is on pace potentially to putting up career highs this season. We'll just have to wait and see as the season unwinds here, as we're just about at the halfway point. But yeah, in terms of the Eastman Selects, they had some recognition from this past week in week 11 of the MFHL. And it was Isabella Carrier, as we talked about, winning player of the week. Isabella ended up scoring 4 points in the 2 games that she played, scoring the only goal in that game against the Winnipeg Ice to put the Selects up 1-0 at the time. Congratulations to Isabella Carrier, who's second on the Selects in points, and a goaltender that played, I think, pretty well in that game against the Winnipeg Ice, stopping all but 2 shots, 1 in regulation to tie it and 1 in the shootout. And that was Oriana Kennedy winning the goaltender of the week in the MFHL for week 11, coming from St. Anne. She's in her second year in the league, and yeah, she was phenomenal in that game against the Ice, even though she got the loss. 38 saves on 39 shots against. She's 5th, like you see there, in save percentage in the MFHL at .931, top 60 in the program of excellence camp. So didn't quite make it, but made it pretty far in those tryouts. And yeah, congratulations to the Eastman Selects. Both of these players making big differences for them throughout the weekend. And, I mentioned at the start of the show, or in this show's graphic, that we are going to be showing some highlights from one game in particular, and that's from one part of that game in particular on Friday night between the Winnipeg Ice and the Eastman Selects. Only going to show you guys the goal and the final shot here, but as we take a look at it, it was the Winnipeg Ice starting off this shootout. I believe it was on the second shot with the goal. A nice backhand move there by Chloe Nicholas to put the Ice with the advantage. And last opportunity to extend things in the shootout. That's going to be rung off the post. The shot from number 19 there, beating Laura Melissa, but not quite the bar. And if we take a look at who that player is for the Eastman Selects, who ended up not hitting that post in the shootout, it ended up being number 19 in Daniela Helpert, in Danielle Hepner, as I should say. So, yeah, a shot that beat Laura Melissa clean, but could not beat the post cleanly. You could see the disappointment there, the gasps let out by the Selects bench. Tomes holding her head down. You could see the disappointment there, and that's a big thing about that Eastman Selects team. It's talked about with Ginger, is that they play for each other. They support each other. That energy was wild, honestly, hearing the screams of encouragement from McKenna, as well as the rest of the Eastman Selects bench, even though they lost that game against the Winnipeg Ice on Friday at the Access Event Center. But yeah, we are going to come back. I'm going to come back after this next transition to bring you guys, some final words on this edition of the show, showing you guys the stats leaders updated in the MFHL, as well as talking about the upcoming schedule in the league this weekend coming up for Week 12. You're watching the MFHL Podcast for Episode 6 on GShow Productions, brought to you by Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, Terrico, and goaltenders. Myself, Graham the GShow Forsyth, will be back for one final time after this next transition, everybody. It's the doubleheader here tonight on GShow Productions, almost coming to an end. The MFHL Podcast going to be returning next Wednesday night at the regularly scheduled program timing of 9 p.m. Central Time. It's been busy times over here at GShow Productions, folks. Tough to do so much in such little time, but we're making it work. And can't wait, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, to be streaming our first live stream game in the MFHL at Niverville, between the Eastman Selects and the Winnipeg Avros. Coming up this weekend, we'll be live for a pregame show, most likely 10 minutes beforehand, but we might just skip the pregame show and get straight to the game today, depending on how the setup is over in Niverville in that rink. Honestly, I've never been there, been told that there's some solid Wi-Fi, and yeah, I'm all over that, because that's exactly what you need to live stream hockey games. You need a good modem, you need a good internet system, and not many here in the city, to be honest, provide that. But the Hockey for All Center, formerly known as the Iceplex, also has great Wi-Fi. So we are going to be streaming there, as well as from Niverville this season, choosing those two rinks, as we are the official broadcaster of the MFHL. We don't claim any exclusivity, by the way. That was big in our discussions with the league. No one has exclusivity, not even us, as we are technically the official broadcasters of the MFHL. So that means that no one can really stop anyone from broadcasting games. But I hope you guys choose GShow Productions, because we're going to bring you guys the play-by-play commentary, multiple camera angles, analysis, showing you guys the whole game, and much more, all for the price of $5. Saturday's game might be free, just one on the house to start off, and then the rest will be paid for. That's what we did with the MMJHL last week, doing our first St. Vital Junior Victoria stream. So yeah, we'll keep you guys posted, stay up to date on our social media, but for right now, it is looking like this could change. We are probably going to put it up for $5 for you guys to watch, and great for Winnipeg fans, the Avros, if you can't make it out, because we'll be your source for you guys to be able to watch it. But yeah, in terms of the other games coming up in the MFHL for Week 12, as only 3 teams in total were playing games this past weekend, well, that's going to change, as all the teams are back in town for the MFHL, back to their home places, back from wherever they were this past weekend. I know for the Avros, they were in Regina, but yeah, Game 1 already happened tonight between the Avros and the Ice to kick off Week 12. Tomorrow, there's going to be a doubleheader. The Avros going to be in Stonewall to take on the Interlake Lightning at 7:30 p.m. If we take a look at the standings, ladies and gentlemen, and whoever else may be watching, the Interlake Lightning have a chance to get to 5 wins, but the Avros are not going to be an easy out whatsoever. One of the best teams in the leagues, expecting probably Rachel Hallerson gets the start in this one. The Yellowhead Chiefs taking on the Pembina Valley Hawks at 7:45 p.m. on Friday as well, in the doubleheader of MFHL action. The Pembina Valley Hawks, yeah, their losing streak continues, and they're up to only 3 wins, 11 losses, 1 extra time loss on the season for the Yellowhead Chiefs. They'll be back in action, looking to get to 21 points, keeping distance between themselves and Eastman for third place in the standings, 9-5-1, as you see there heading into this weekend. There's going to be a quadruple header coming up on Saturday in the MFHL. As mentioned, it starts off with the Avros and Selects, as we'll be broadcasting that game here on the network, probably on Vimeo OTT. Like I said, check out our website for the information on where to watch it, as well as on our social medias linked in the description of this episode. But yeah, the Pembina Valley Hawks taking on the Central Plains Capitals, the battle of the two last place teams in the leagues. Interlake, the Lightning on the road, going over to Hartney in Brandon, Manitoba to take on the Westman Wildcats. Taking a look at Westman in these standings, a team that is in 5th place, has a chance to potentially get out of 5th place depending on how Eastman does and how their weekend goes, but it would take 2 wins most likely for Westman to do that, and even then, maybe they won't even pass them. But yeah, that game going at 7:30 p.m., as well as the Winnipeg Ice going to Shoal Lake, Manitoba to take on the Yellowhead Chiefs at 7:30 p.m. Battle of 2 top 3 teams here in the league. And then on Sunday, there's going to be a triple header. The Pembina Valley Hawks coming into Winnipeg to take on the Avros at 2:15 p.m. The Seven Oaks Sportsplex. The Ice going to Hartney to take on the Westman Wildcats at 2:30 p.m. And the Interlake Lightning going to Shoal Lake to play the Yellowhead Chiefs at 2:30 on Sunday to finish Week 12's action in the Manitoba Female Hockey League. If you're in the area of any of those games, be sure to check it out. It's like $7 to watch, $10 if you're an adult, $7 if you're a student. So yeah, be sure to take advantage. The best hockey at this level that Manitoba has to offer in the female game. But yeah, I mean, it's always fun to also look at the stats leaders in the MFHL, and taking a look at it, we'll go with the points leaders first off. It's still Stephanie Jacob. She has 1 game in hand on Celine Wozni, who's 3 points behind her. Rio Pierre, of course, as mentioned, sensational this season, top 3 in points still, even after their team didn't play any games this past weekend of league action. Taking a look at the goals, Stephanie Jacobs still with a ridiculous lead of 11 now on Paige Crossley of the Westman Wildcats. Kirby Gray and Rio Pierre rounding out the top 5 there, tied for 4th with 9. Dara Thompson sitting tied with Paige Crossley also for 10 goals, even though she has 1 more game played than the centerman. But in terms of assists, it can't be Jacob leading everything. It's her teammate, actually, and shootout hero in Chloe Nicholas. Maybe the post was actually the shootout hero for the Ice. No, I kid. 18 assists in 15 games played. She's also been able to put the puck in the net, too. 4 goals this season. Of course, not as much as her assists total. But Celine Wozni, most of her points being second in the league, coming from assists, tied with Chloe Nicholas for that lead, both playing the same amount of games. Then it drops off a bit after that, a 4-point gap between teammate Wozni and Pierre there. So Pierre just under an assist per game. And then Hannah Ray and Mackenzie Lizotte of the Avros, rounding out the top 5 for assists. We take a look at goaltenders now. Laura Melissa, the best in the league by the wins, by the numbers, really almost every statistic. She's also playing in front or behind a fantastic, dominant defensive team in the Winnipeg Ice, but you need the goaltender to make saves, and Laura Melissa, she's been good this season. Heading in. Of course, all these stats are going to be updated right away by the MFHL's website, but this was heading into tonight's action. There's a 4-way tie for 3rd in wins with Almeida, Grunwald, Sylvester, and Tomes. Most of this list being Winnipeg players, which not that surprising the way things have gone. And looking at the save percentages, like Melissa's save percentage, ridiculous, 3 shutouts. Almeida for the Avros, a 944 save percentage. All of these are pretty nasty, to be honest with you. How gross those numbers are, how great those numbers are. Sorry, everybody, kind of going into some hockey slang there. But, yeah, great weekend of action coming up in the MFHL. It's going to be a lot of fun to go out and do that live stream on Saturday, man. I can't wait for it. We're going to take one last commercial break here, everybody. Then I'm going to be back to hit you guys with the final say in tonight's episode. 10 minutes away from 11 p.m. here. So let's make this quick, get you all to bed, and I'll be back here in just a moment. Myself, Graham the GShow Forsyth, for the conclusion of episode 6 of the MFHL podcast, brought to you by goaltenders Mid Canada Fasteners Tools and Terrico. Well, you made it to the end of the 6th episode of the MFHL podcast, the official Manitoba Female Hockey League podcast here on GShow Productions, presented by us and our sponsors. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors for sponsoring yet another edition of this podcast featuring the top talent from around female hockey in Manitoba with Goaltenders, your goalie's personal video review service. Be sure to check out their website for more information. Terrico, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years. Be sure to visit their website, terrico.ca, to find out why they've been so trusted. And to Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, thank you to you guys for sponsoring this episode too. Doing a promotion right now with Mid Canada Fasteners Tools. If you haven't heard, I'll say it for the third time tonight. I'm sure you've heard it outside of this broadcast, outside of this podcast too, as I've been kind of spreading the gospel here about this deal. If you go into any one of their stores, whether it's Brandon or Winnipeg, with any purchase you make until the end of December, while quantities last, limit one per customer, you'll get a free Milwaukee Tool Coffee Mug by using GShow Productions, that promo code, upon any one of your purchases. So you could spend big, you could spend little, but you're coming away with a free coffee mug if you use our promo code, which I think be pretty awesome. Runs until the end of this month, so don't be sure to miss out if you are thinking of going and upgrading your tool supplier or maybe something else. I also heard that they got some Hockey Canada gloves there too. Just pretty sick. That's pretty awesome, not gonna lie to you, that they're making that deal there. Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, showing that they're not just a tools company, right? A distributor of that by doing that. Great to see. But yeah, for episode 6, it was great. I hope you guys had a lot of fun tuning into this one. We'll be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Time for an all-new edition of this show. Guest list will be out probably a day before or the day of the episode, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, we are going to be broadcasting on Saturday, live streaming the game. It's going to be hype. I'm going to be on the call, probably the only announcer in that game. Yeah, like I said, check us out on social media, handles in the description below, or check out our website at gshow.ca to find the full details and find where you can watch that game. Probably going to be on Vimeo OTT. But yeah, sorry everybody for running this podcast later than usual tonight. Got busy yesterday with some stuff that had to be taken care of, so that's why I ran the MMJHL podcast at 9 p.m. instead of this one, as the MMJHL one was supposed to air yesterday. That one's returning next week on Tuesday, following the Victorias and Raiders Junior Hockey Club matchup, so that'll be a lot of fun to do that. Screwed up in that episode, ended up having some trouble with my software in terms of exporting one of the interviews. So an interview by a player named Aaron Nielsen, the leading scorer of the River East Royal Knights in that league. That interview didn't get shown, but don't worry, we're going to be posting it separately on YouTube for anyone that may be interested to watch that. So yeah, that's all I got to say. I've been your host, Graham, the GShow Forsyth. Gonna have highlights for you guys next week. More updates from around the league, what the standings are looking like, what the stats are looking like, the scores, all that great stuff, along with what's sure to be a great list of guest players or coaches that are going to be joining. You'll have to wait until next week to find out, everybody. But until then, I've been your host, like I've said, Graham, the GShow Forsyth, giving you the salute, peacing out, and saying so long. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Stay safe and enjoy that Manitoba Female U18 AAA Hockey League hockey that is coming your way. See you guys next Wednesday. Take care.